Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sunset TV. I am Tina Jha, you are watching Healthy India. On the show today, we are going to talk about autism, a neurodevelopmental disorder that impairs a person's ability to communicate and interact. It impacts the nervous system and affects the overall cognitive, emotional, social and physical health of an individual. According to the World Health Organization, autism or autism spectrum disorder, ASD as it is referred to, affects 1 in every 100 children. In India, an estimated 18 million people suffer from autism. While there is no known cure for autism, early diagnosis and intervention can improve outcomes and quality of life of individuals with ASD. So we'll talk about the symptoms, identification and essential intervention to help those affected by autism with eminent experts who are joining us on the program today. I'm pleased to have with me in the studio Professor Dheeraj Bahal. He is Additional Medical Superintendent, RML Hospital, New Delhi. Professor Bahal, thank you for your time. Welcome to Sunset TV. And Dr. Prerna Sharma, she's Associate Professor, Clinical Psychology, Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences, New Delhi. Professor Sharma, thank you very much for your time as well. Professor Bahal, let me begin the program today with you. And first, to understand about the disease before we get into the symptoms and the identification, why is it called the autism spectrum disorder? What does spectrum refer to?
Spectrum means this entity, it encompasses many other challenges also. You see, human being is a social animal, social and communicative both. And any disturbance in either his social behavior or a communicative behavior, which is manifested by not only in present status we call it autism, but there are other human behavior deviations also. There are so many 800 million people, crore people in the earth, and nobody resembles as far as their appearance or as far as their behavior is concerned, which is influenced by the genetics and the environment and the ethnicity and the region to which they belong to. So it is a wide spectrum and it encompasses 3 or 4 other ailments also. You say the Rett syndrome, Asperger syndrome and many others. So widely we have made it into a spectrum, like we have a spectrum of light V, I, B, G, Y, O, R, the 7 colors, that is spectrum. So the same way this is also a spectrum, encompasses any behavior or social anomalies in a person. So that we'll call it ASD, autism spectrum disorder.
Do we know what causes ASD? Are there any known risk factors?
Yeah, it is a very good questions you asked. As such, as of today, cause are not known. It is a matter of research, but there are various associations starting from human being is affected by genetics and the environment in which he lives. Yes, genetics does play a role. There are various gene aberrations, gene mutations, they are there. As per our study, it is a matter of research. It is still not authenticated, but genetics has a role because sometimes it is seen in families also. If at all there is a person of ASD, then you need to screen the other siblings also.
Right.
Then there are environmental factors. Environmental factors means right from the birth, you can say, even before birth. So antenatal factors, intranatal factors, there are postnatal factors, there are environmental factors. Like in antenatal factors, what I am saying is just a matter of research. It is not authenticated, it is not a foolproof, which I am saying. There are various associations noted, like if a mother is having pregnant, expectant mother is having diabetes or is having hypertension or is having accelerated, she is having accelerated hypertension, or during the birth if there is a the birth process is prolonged. If mother is having infections, we call congenital infections.
Right.
And if the baby has been delivered premature or asphyxiated or even a low birth weight,
right,
then these are the antenatal, intranatal, then the postnatal. Postnatal means now what environment the child is brought in. Initially it used to be said autism is a product of a refrigerated mother. Though that concept is now no longer acceptable. So environmental behavior of parents is not linked to this. So it is now keep on changing. The environmental main is the toxins we have, even air pollution. Sometimes the available research and data says the prevalence of autism ASD is very high in Japan. They have linked it to the consumption of a particular fish. Then some particular medication being taken for epilepsy. That can also be a contributing factor to
right. So scientists are yet to uncover the exact causes, but there is a whole combination of factors that you have just listed. The question next, Dr. Sharma, is when can we detect ASD? I was reading that early signs are visible. So by what age can parents or the caregivers identify symptoms, signs of ASD?
That's right. So the data says that one in every 100 or 125 within the range of 3 to 6 years, and one in roughly 85 between 3 to 6 years of age has a possibility of receiving this diagnosis. Right. So you see the difference, 125 versus 85. That means that there's a delay in detecting. So it can be detected as early as within 2 years, 18 months. Since it's a developmental delay, developmental disorder, neurodevelopmental disorder, so any sign which parents or caregivers, or even when the child starts going to school, the teachers notice that it is not age appropriate, or there is a delay in normal expected milestones that a child is supposed to achieve. For example, social smile. If you're smiling at a baby, it reflects back, right? Yes. There's an age where it does not. So if it is at the expected age, then that's fine. If the parents notice that it is not responding as per the age appropriate behavior, just not this, but eye contact, or just responding to the social cues. So if they notice there is some delay, then they must opt for screening at least, because even if we cannot pinpoint it is for sure ASD, because it takes about 5 to 6 years to say confidently that the child is ASD. After you have stimulated the child enough, after you have exposed the child to social situations, schooling, parenting. So, you cannot say confidently that the child has ASD before that, but the early signs can be detected as early as 2 years, within 2 years.
How challenging, Professor Bahal, is it to diagnose ASD, especially in a country like ours, wherein we don't take normal, delay in speech as a problem of illness? So till about the age of 5 or 6, we will continue to believe कि बच्चा बोलेगा, दांत नहीं आए तो आ जाएंगे, नहीं बोल रहा है तो बोलेगा. So things like, and a lot of us will be in denial for a longer period of time, which is very crucial to ASD.
Well, actually the diagnosis is, it takes a little longer time, but there are earlier indicators also, because our country is a resource constrained country, and we have a population of 140 crores and rising at approximately galloping as a percentage of 2% per annum, with 2.6 crore children born every year. And with only 60,000 or 70,000 qualified pediatrician, they are all sensitive to this ASD aspect. But these facilities are, as of now, are rather say concentrated in metros or big cities. Though now with the propagation of the national program like Ayushman Bharat, the doctors, they are now being available at the peripheries, even private sector, it is getting a rural penetration. Pediatricians are getting rural penetration, they are available wide across. So the awareness, and then to add to this is the literacy rate is increasing, and the social media and the IT and the mobile and the WhatsApp, all this group, they are, though I will call it two-edged sword, but they can contribute a lot in making the people awareness. Yes. And awareness is gradually increasing. But there is a constraint of doctors, or trained doctors, psychologists on it, and hopefully the incidence, prevalence of autism, ASD I will call it, it will increase. Like in Japan, every clinicians, they are highly trained. So that is why the ASD is highest probably in Japan. In USA, developed economies, the ASD is high because their detection is very high. Right. Same way India, now we say, recent data says the ASD in India is 1 in 89 children. So gradually this will come down, I am saying, because more and more people are aware, more and more doctors are available, more and more psychologists will be available, and they is not far off will be able to pick up the the ASD disorder at an early stage, and we will have research and development R&D is going on, and hopefully there will be more tools in the future to detect it.
Right. How can we, put these shortcomings behind and work on the way forward to address this problem is something that we'll discuss in the course of the program. But Dr. Sharma, another aspect is there are several other neurological psychiatric conditions that also have similar symptoms which autistic patients have. How do we differentiate? And especially when we say it has to be detected early, in countries like Japan, in the US, it is detected early, there is early detection, so there is early and effective intervention. That perhaps is something wherein we need to work upon. How do we differentiate in the West?
That's right. See, it's a spectrum. So we would see no two, kids receiving the diagnosis of ASD would be same. So spectrum means that from a little disturbance in social and communication to very substantial disturbance. So however, there are three cardinal signs that we should look out for. Although all these reasons cited by Dr. Bahel and myself, all these risk factors are important in every childhood disorder. So it doesn't mean that a difficulty in pregnancy or delay or low birth weight can cause only ASD. It can cause various other issues as well. However, as the child grows in social environment, if we see that the social interaction and communication is not very reciprocative, the child is not responding or making an eye contact or not able to relate, you're not able to relate with the emotions and feelings, or the child is not able to do that with the primary caregiver, number one. Number two, repetitive and restrictive repertoire, that he would like to indulge in only repetitive play or repetitive behavior is another sign. And these two, and difficulty in eye contact. And these two together causing significant impairment in work or family life or schooling. So these are the signs that we should look out for. However, the range varies from little disturbance to higher in the range.
So how should parents and caregivers be working on them is something that I'll come and discuss with you in just a bit. But Professor Bahel, the question here that I am trying to understand from you is, and particularly in the context of the Indian society, is we live in denial. That is something, we may not have the infrastructure. We may be, you just cited out healthcare professionals may be short in number. These are things that will ultimately be taken care of. But what about, and also education. I know of people who are, from very affluent families, highly educated, but if their child has symptoms of autism and the healthcare professional is pointing out, they'll change the doctor. What do we do to make this class of people aware about this problem? And if they keep delaying it, it becomes problematic for them and for the child also.
So I must say that to begin with, all the doctors needs to be sensitized, especially pediatricians. They are sensitized, but since their workload on other disease elements and clinical elements is too much to bear with. So ASD aspect, though they are able to detect it, but they need to be more sensitized. Like even not only pediatrician, other doctors needs to be sensitized if at all when they move in society, if they can observe it. So making them more sensitized, this can be done only by many means, including the print and electronic media like we are presenting here. The message will go across the nation. So similar type of workshops, sensitivity, and with seminars in school, who have a prominent role to play. There are 3% teachers, parents, and pediatricians and doctors, medical community and psychologists. So these four segment of society has a huge role to play. So teachers, they should be made aware that how the child is behavior, because child is spending around 1/3 of the life, 1/3 of the day in the school. Rest 1/3 of the day is spending at home. So education of parents, education of teachers, will be the need of hour to sensitize them so that early diagnosis is made. I came across many a times when the पेरेंट्स दे कम, डॉक्टर साहब ये ना थोड़ा ब्लैक बोर्ड में आगे जाके बहुत देखता है, ये दूर से इसको दिखता नहीं है, सब बच्चे दूर से देख के नोट कर लेते हैं आगे जा, लाइक सच टाइप ऑफ दिस वाज नोटेड बाय टीचर नॉट बाय पेरेंट्स. So such type the teacher, parents, psychologists and pediatricians, though they are sensitive, and medical fraternity, they need to be sensitized about it by having workshops, seminars and by print and electronic media.
Dr. Sharma, because you would be dealing with a lot of parents and caregivers, what is the first reaction generally if you tell them about inevitable symptoms that are visible in the child, and how do then parents deal with this when they come to know that their child has been diagnosed with autism?
It's the same with any sort of new breaking bad of news, because every parent has some certain expectations. Absolutely. Right? They have aspirations for the child, so it's just not restricted to ASD, but any sort of issue that they find with their child, then their whole idea of who they want that child to grow up as is shaken up. So if that idea is shaken up of a healthy, functioning, normal child, so to say, then of course the first is, like you have said, denial, shock, surprise. And then, it takes time for them to accept it. It's a journey, I would say. And even if we are breaking bad, we are doing that, breaking bad of the news. But then issue is that how gently are we doing that? Are we holding hands? Like Sir said, that we are aware of that something is wrong with the child, or
that sensitization aspect, whether it's
that
there
sensitization aspect also has to have healthcare communication. Right. I think that's something that I'm sure he means by sensitization is that how well, with the busy OPD and everything, absolutely, I only end up spending few minutes, and that quality of those few minutes, how do I communicate? Even as a psychologist, even the load of patients in any hospital is huge. So how effectively and how well can I do that healthcare communication, that sensitization, that just gently telling them. And then, if they develop some sort of trust with you, they will come back and clarify some more questions.
So Professor Bell, we've spoken about early diagnosis and its importance. What do we mean when we say early intervention? What are the kind of measures that need to be taken at home, by the doctor, by the surrounding? What kind of environment do we need to create around people who are affected by autism?
Actually, the diagnosis, it is a challenge for doctor also.
Clearly.
Because telling something that your child is having ASD, it is a shocking news. I am telling you, for parents, पूरा परिवार हिल जाता है. It is as bad as worst as breaking a news of a loss of a family member.
Absolutely. More so because of the stigma attached to it.
Yes, stigma attached. Because child is not, teacher has some observation, she tells, then the parents, they go to the doctor, and then early, because as I told you that as and when the research and development on this subject is growing, we will be able to detect it at the earlier stage. Yes, certain questionnaire you can put forward to the parents, routine checklist, such behavior and such behavior, whether you are observing or not. That is a tool for the parents that can be given to the parents or the teacher. They can write it, and then a suspicion will arise, and then that child can be sent to the appropriate doctor for detection or for diagnosis of this. So this is a tool which is available in the net that needs to be spread. As Madam said, I will put it this way: knowledge and awareness, they are different. A person, we are advertising that smoking is injurious to health. It is written on the pack also. Person who is smoking knows it is injurious to health. But when he becomes aware, the day he falls sick, that is the awareness.
Yeah. When it doesn't
everybody
hit
knows
you don't
it is ASD, autism, ye hai, wo hai. But when something happens, that is the awareness. So that level of awareness we need to create among the doctors, teachers, and pediatricians and psychologists. They are aware, but they need to pick up in the society. This behavior doesn't seem to be appropriate. His body movements, his walking, his abnormal social interaction, they are not normal. Milestone, we in pediatrics, we have milestone classified into gross motor, fine motor, social and communication, language we call it. So gross motor, fine motor, they are more or less okay or maybe slightly delayed. But the social and language, that 50% I will say, that is lacking in ASD. So that detection of social and language aspect needs to be more strengthened in the pediatricians to come at a logical conclusion for early diagnosis.
Dr. Sharma, we know there is no known cure to ASD, but when we say early treatment, what is the procedure that parents, caregivers, the healthcare professionals have to follow if it's diagnosed at an early stage? How do we, deal with patients who have autism? How do we engage with them to, make them feel comfortable and so that the healing procedure, at least the treatment procedure, is successful?
Right. So there is no cure to the disorder. There is no, it cannot be reversed, but it can be very well managed. So I think we have come so far in science and technology, even if we cannot pinpoint what is the cause of the disorder, but we have array of options in terms of interventions that we can utilize. So since it's a neurodevelopmental and communication and behavioral disorder, so it's a matter of skill building. So we do some skill building with the child, as well as the parents shadow the therapist or whoever is doing the intervention, and they also do the same sort of skill building at home or at school. So there are a lot of behavioral interventions or other sort of interventions. So every child will receive a personalized plan or an individualized plan according to the needs of that particular child, signs and symptoms and the needs of that child, the social context, the familial context. So according to that, we make a plan for each and every child. There are certain very popular interventions that we utilize from regulating their gut health is very poor. So regulating their gut health to biological rhythms, sleeping, eating patterns. So we know that as a normal human being how important it is for us. Right. So if we are dysregulated one day, we are not able to concentrate, or our output for that day goes for a toss. So imagine for a kid who has special needs, who has extra needs, how important it is for that child to fulfill the needs of biological rhythm. So first and foremost is that, and having a very predictable sort of routine. What are the needs of that particular child? And using, since they lack social and communication in the language and speech and social and communication area, then use of visual aids and pictures is story building is important. So these are certain interventions. I can go in deeper if we have time, but it's called PECS, picture exchange communication system, and ABA, it's a behavioral analysis. So there are many options available.
It's all about identifying the skill, then keeping the child engaged and managing the problem in a holistic way, both from the parent side and from the teachers and the healthcare professional side. But one question, Professor Bahel, is about, and we know it varies from person to person, does autism affect the brain of boys and girls differently? Is there any study to prove that also?
Yeah, I said it is found more in boys. The ratio, as they say, varies from 4:1. So it's more prevalent in boys.
Okay, so time allows me to take up just one round questioning again. So I'll take conclusion remarks on the way forward. We've spoken about the problem and the needs from the parents, from the caregiver side. Now, if you look at the holistic scenario in approaching the problem, so in India, tuberculosis was something to which a lot of stigma was attached to. With constant efforts, with constant government interventions, we have been able to shed that stigma perhaps in recent years. When we talk about problems like these, which have a growing prevalence, now we are saying that the number is only increasing in a country like India. The need is to be more aware, but at the same time, we need to have more of government-focused efforts also.
Yes.
Do we have anything that particularly targets ASD, any government program that we've spoken about recently? What about the Rights to Persons with Disabilities Bill 2016? How much does it cater to people with autism in India?
Yes, we have the facility, because these type of patients, they are not as up to the mark as a normal child. So there is disability, it comes under the purview of disability, and if government has kept a certain provision of it, how to diagnose it and how much percentage is to be allotted for various benefits, social benefits, economic benefits to the person concerned, to the family. So government is doing very widely on this matter, and government is aware, and there are centers across the hospitals in metros where the team is there, the boards are there to detect it and to advise it and to make provisions for rehabilitation by interacting with the psychologists. So all infrastructure is there in the metros also there, and hopefully as the prevalence will increase in the times to come, that is for sure. Appropriately, this infrastructure for health facilities to diagnose, detect, rehabilitate such patients will be there. Right?
And as we build the infrastructure, Dr. Sharma,
Yes.
it's important that we sensitize people, make them aware, most importantly, shed the stigma. How do we do that collectively? It's not something only for the government to do. It's something that will come up only with collective effort.
I would say that making a more inclusive society, our attitudes also, there should be an attitudinal shift, the way we look at these kids, not distinguishing between what is normal and abnormal, but kids having different needs. World is not designed according to them. How about we try looking at the world according to their needs as well? Maybe we will try to fit in the way we are trying to fit in gender on a spectrum, or various other things in society we are evolving. So why not we have an inclusive outlook towards the kids? So I know that there are a lot of schools who are the integrated education with the integration of education, that the special kids are allowed to sit with the other kids as well. So other kids now, they pick up the skills to how to deal with that child, with their peer who has special needs. So as a society, it's a collective responsibility and effort.
That's right. Caring for those with autism is challenging, but with a lot of patience, with support and understanding, it happens. So there are children who are diagnosed with autism at an early stage, but in terms of how they manage the problem, how their parents manage the problem is something that they do very successfully with early intervention and with right guidance. As a society, as Dr. Sharma and Professor Bahl pointed out, it's important for us to be sensitive enough to the needs of everyone, make the society more inclusive, and with, it's a collective effort. So if we create that kind of conducive environment, we will be able to give those who suffer from autism a fulfilling and thriving lives. So that having been said, I'll have to wind up the program. I would like to thank both my guests for joining me on this edition of Healthy India and sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our viewers. And to you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well. I'll see you same time next week. Take good care of yourselves. Keep watching Sunset TV.